Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Saturday the 13th of May and I'm just back from group. I got the result I deserved this week. As I always say, my actions determine the result I deserve, and this week I decided to stick to my normal plan, which is 5 to 10 sins, 1 or 2 A choices, 1 or 2 B choices, and just eat as normal. Well, I actually had 2 A choices and 2 B choices every day this week. So I seem to have a passion for cheese and biscuits at the moment. And I had an average of 7.5 sins each day, and I got a £0.5 loss. So I'm more than happy with that. That has me at 9 stone 8 pounds, which is £6 below target. So still out of target, but that's okay. I'm still in a position where I'm letting my body find its own balance. I don't want to lower my target and force myself into a place where I feel like I have to work really hard to stay at target, because I don't like the expression, I had to work hard to get the loss I got this week. If I found myself feeling that way or using those words, it would be because I was in diet mode. And if I needed to do that, if I needed to work extremely hard to stay where I'm at, then it's obviously I've gone too low for my body. And I can't do that for the rest of my life. I can't have to work hard every week to stay where I'm at. So I'm trying to find a comfortable way of eating. I've actually had a vegetarian week. I didn't set off for the week intending to do that. But when I look back over my food diary, I've actually had a vegetarian week, which makes a nice change for me to do a total vegetarian week. I don't eat meat often, shall we say. I don't eat any processed meat now, because of some dreadful stuff I heard. Actually on YouTube, it was an advertisement for BMI, and I've used BMI Park hospitals in the past and I've been quite impressed with them. And BMI is saying in their advert, and actually this advert was in the middle of a Slimming World video, so that's why it caught my attention. And it actually said, and I think this is also on the BMI website, that processed meats carry the same health warning for causing bowel cancer that cigarettes carry for causing lung cancer. And for that, I'm grateful today for that information, and it just reinforces why I choose not to eat processed meats today. So pork pie is definitely well and truly gone now. Don't need it anymore. And for those of you who've been with me for a while, you know what a sucker I am for pork pie. But yeah, that just helps me to stay away from it. So good week, vegetarian week. Won't be a vegetarian week necessarily going forward, and there was no ulterior motive there for weight loss. It's just the way I chose to eat this week. Really good group. In our group this morning, just our group, not the first group included, we lost £99, which I find really encouraging. They did the points thing this morning where you have the 2 teams and add up the points, and the winning team got 3,100 points and our team got 1,600. None of us like playing this daft game, but it's something that consultants are expected to do, so we do it, but not every week. And interesting in group this morning, there's a lady called Jo, and I'm sure she won't she won't mind me mentioning her name, because she was telling us in group that she's going to be on this morning, on this coming Tuesday, and she's being styled by Gokwan. I think that's how you say his name. Now, I won't be watching that because we don't have a TV, but for anybody who does watch it, the lady that's being styled by Gokwan is from my Slimming World group. So I might ask one of my friends to video it so I can go around and check it out. Some good weight losses in group this morning, and people have been doing this for a while and are at the sort of, well, one girl I've got in mind this morning and her husband, who are, she's around the 3.5 stone mark and he's around the 3 stone mark. She lost 4.5 pounds this morning and he lost 3.5. And they're not new to the plan, they've been around a little while. And we've had lots of losses like that this week. We had a lot of £3, £2.5. We had, I think a £5, but that was somebody who'd had a gain or a maintain. No, they'd had a gain last week, so they didn't count Slimmer of the Week. It just inspires me that when people have been doing this plan for a while, and you think I know for myself, I can get complacent, I can get lazy around it, and can forget the benefits of eating speed food, etc. And it just inspires me when I see people losing weight like that. And when it's a couple, you know it's because of where they're eating as a family. And sometimes we hear people say, oh, the more weight you've lost, the harder it gets. I think in some circumstances it can feel like that. But it just shows you that if you do, you know, when they were asked, how did you do that? Well, we stuck to plan 100%. And we're doing a thing in group on Plan Every Day for May, and we are seeing some excellent results. So yeah, and Naomi said this morning, you know, even if you're starting from today, you can be on plan for the rest of May. And they're definitely, people in our group are definitely up for that. You know, we're looking forward to the summer. We want some weight off before we get the summer clothes out for, you know, stripping off and showing off your arms and your legs and your belly and things. You want as much off as possible before you get to that stage. And I know there was, I think it was last Sunday, we had a glorious day here, and actually went out in jeans and a tight-fitting t-shirt and felt okay. I wasn't walking along doing my usual trick of trying to put my arm across my belly because I think, oh, my belly sticks out. And Joe keeps saying to me, Mum, it doesn't, you look fine, stop worrying, you don't have a muffin top. And all these things. It is hard to go out there wearing, you know, a pair of size 10 or 12 jeans and a snug fitting t-shirt when you've been used to hiding inside a cardigan all your life. It just takes some confidence to do that. So I managed it last Sunday and I did feel good. And I didn't take a cardigan with me so that I could drape it around my shoulders or tie it around my waist, and things that were tricks I used to do when I was on the way down in the weight loss journey. Something I feel compelled to talk about this week is quick fix diets. After my episode last week where I had said to Joe I was going to cut back on A's and B's, I was going to change how I ate, I was going to eat cod and all this rubbish, and Joe reminded me, you know, about deprivation station and not getting off the maintained train at deprivation station, and we had a good laugh about it. But it brought back into my mind a lot of old thoughts about the way I used to look for a quick fix. And I have shared in my vlogs before that I did things like lipo trim and lost 7 or 8 stone in 7 or 8 months and then put it all back in 5 or 6 months. And I've done crazy things like slim fast. You know, again, Operation Starvation. I'll have a slim fast for breakfast, a slim fast for lunch. I'll think, you know, crazy thoughts all day about what can I eat for my dinner, and I'll expect to magically lose weight fast. Well, the thing I've learnt with Slimming World is that that's not the way for me today. If I stick to plan and accept the small gains that come along as bumps in the road and just keep going, not doing anything dramatic, the weight looks after itself and things level themselves out. So my £0.5 loss this week was deserved in that that's where my body wants to be. It could have been a maintain, it could have been a £0.5 gain. It's where my body chooses to be. Now I know in the past I've done desperate things to lose weight. I can't do that anymore because it plays too much with my head. One of the things I've seen a lot of on YouTube, now accept that I don't do other social medias. I don't do Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook or any of these things. As a blind person, I have no interest in any of the kind of visual social media things. I know to an extent YouTube is visual, but it's also a bit like listening to a podcast if you can't see the picture. I generally can have a curtain drawn across the screen on my iPad because I'm just listening to a video the way you would listen to a podcast. And what I've heard a lot of in the last 2 or 3 weeks is the 777 challenge. Now I've never heard this mentioned in group, and I know it's not a Slimming World challenge, it's just an idea somebody has obviously had in social media. I don't know where it came from or when it started, but it seems to have been bandied around quite a lot in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I was in group this morning and a lady came, I'm not going to mention her name, it's not fair because some people from my group might watch this, and she said this to me privately, but she asked me had I heard of the 777 challenge. So I said, yeah, I've heard of it. And then she said, have you ever done it? And I said, no, but I wouldn't do it. And I think she was a bit taken back by that, because those of you who've watched me for a while will know I speak my mind. With me, what you see is what you get. And I'll tell you why I wouldn't do the 777 challenge. This is why I wouldn't do it, not why you shouldn't do it if you choose to. I wouldn't do it because my mind is very vulnerable to diet mentality. And if somebody said to me, I want you to do this challenge, but you can only have 7 speed foods and you can only have 7 sins. Now, I don't think it is that you can only have 7 speed foods. I think it's a minimum of 7, but people talk about it as 7. I don't think you have to stop at 7 if you seriously wanted more. Right, you can only have 7 sins would be enough to tip me over the edge. Because what I've said to you today, I've had 7.5 sins on average this week. That's because I chose to. I would say at the start of the week I have between 5 and 10 sins. I know I can have up to 15. And if something occurred where I needed to go over the 10, I can do that because I've got the choice to do it. I could choose to have 5 sins one day, 15 the next. That gives me an average of 7.5. But if I was told in a challenge that I could only have 7, I very much doubt I could really do that. Because my mind, A, it rebels, and B, I'd feel deprived. And this is my mental state, but everything for me to do with weight loss and food starts from a mental state. And I think for me the mental state around Slimming World today is that I know I've got choice. I know nothing is banned. I feel like I've got more freedom than I've ever had in my life around food. But for the 777 challenge, I did mention, I think it was last week or the week before, I could not drink 7 glasses of water a day. Not if you stood over me and pointed a gun at me. I just can't. Joe will tell you, I am not brilliant with fluids, am I, Joe?
No.
Once I've had a drink and I feel waterlogged, well, we were out yesterday and we were in Costa and Joe bought me an iced Americano, just a small size. Could I finish it?
No.
Too much liquid. I just can't do it. And I know that if I had to drink 7, because I like a challenge, don't get me wrong, I am quite competitive with myself. I can be competitive with other people in the given situation. But if I knew I had to drink 7 glasses of water a day, I would be throwing up by lunchtime. I just can't physically do it. And it's not necessarily because it's water, it's just too much fluid for me. I never have a problem with dehydration. I eat a lot of vegetables which contain a lot of water. But I just cannot physically knock back. I mean, if somebody presented me with a Hydrate Mate bottle, no, I kind of, my internal system goes into panic mode. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So mentally, I have to stay away from those sort of things. Now, I'm not saying the 777 challenge doesn't work. I've seen the results of some people's experience of it, and it does work. I've seen other people do it and gain weight. I've seen people ask questions like, does 2 spinach leaves constitute a portion of speed veg? Now, you see, for me, being the kind of perfectionist that I am, I would have to have 7 portions of speed veg at approximately 80 grams a portion. Because to me, a portion of veg is about 80 grams. That's a normal portion of vegetables if you kind of Google it. But size-wise, for me, that is an appropriate or an adequate portion of veg. So I could have 3 portions of veg at around 80 grams each on my plate. That feels good. I couldn't have a strawberry and call it speed veg. So I am too much of a perfectionist, but again, it comes down to my mental state and the easy way I can feel like a failure. And once I feel like a failure, then I'm off on a guilt trip, then I'm going to struggle with food. So for me today, I have to keep this really simple. My other question around the 777 challenge would be, why would you want to restrict yourself? Not that I think the vegetables are restricting. I mean, Joe would probably eat way more veg than that. On a given day, I could eat more than that. Some days I might eat less. I always have speed veg in a day. I would never, ever not have speed veg in a day. I don't tend to eat a lot of fruit these days. A couple of portions of fruit a day is adequate for me. But then I've learned as I've got smaller, I don't eat as much. So when I first started this weight loss journey, 4 stone heavier at Slimming World and 8 stone lighter than I had been originally, I needed 3, 4, 5 portions of vegetables a day because I was still in that I need to eat all the time mode. I know now that 2 portions of fruit. I mean fruit. I used to eat 4, 5 plus portions of fruit in a day. When I first came to this plan, it was not unusual for me to sit down and eat half a watermelon, literally half a whole watermelon. I couldn't do that today because it's too much. So yeah, for me today, 2 portions of fruit, very occasionally 3, but it's not restrictive. It's because that's what I need. That's what my body asks for. I eat more vegetables than I eat fruit today. I just feel that this 7 sins business, for people who are still on a weight loss journey and still have a really good amount of weight to lose, or even if you've only got a stone to lose, if the plan says you can have up to 15 sins and you're losing weight steadily on that, it may only be half a pound a week. I often lost half a pound a week. My weight loss was not that fast. It wasn't unusual for me to lose 2 pounds, followed by 1 pound, followed by half a pound, followed by half a pound, followed by half a pound. But little drips fill a big bucket. That's the way to go for me today. Again, you know, why limit yourself to 7 sins if you can lose weight eating 10, 11, 12, 13 sins? Somebody I like to watch who inspires me on a weekly basis is Debbie Fawcett, Debbie SW. Because Debbie, all the way through her weight loss, and I think she's been about a year now, and she's lost over 9 stone, has eaten proper portions of proper food, proper portions of fruit and veg, proper portions of free food and speed food. I don't watch everybody who makes YouTube videos. I don't have time to do that. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this plan. I'm not buttering you up, Debbie, if you're watching. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this plan as consistently, properly, and please don't let me push you off the plan, Debbie, as Debbie does. And when I need a boost in motivation, I go back and watch some of Debbie's videos because it proves that if you work it, it works. My consultant was saying this morning, when she stands up in front of a group and people say, I've had a half pound gain this week and I don't deserve that, I've been 100% on plan. You know, my consultant will say, from the heart, I understand where you're coming from. I've been in that place. It happens to me. But all I would say is, don't let it affect your mind. Just carry on doing what you're doing. Don't go home today and think, sod it, I didn't deserve that half pound loss. Feed your face and risk another £2 gain. Sorry, I didn't deserve that half pound gain. Go home, feed your face, put on another £2 next week. You're your own worst enemy if you do that. Just carry on. And the corner of the room I sit in is generally, we're all at Target, the little crowd of us who sit in that corner. And she said this morning, you know, how do you stay there? And we all say the same thing. We just carry on doing what we keep doing to get the results we keep getting. And I think for me, things like the 7-7 challenge, 7, I'm all tongue-tied today. Things like the 7-7-7 challenge, just smack of a quick fix. And something we desperately try not to do in our group is play catch up. Kelvin and Naomi remind us every week, before you leave this room today, think about where you're going. If you know you are going home to take a day off plan or overcompensate because you've had a gain or a loss, think about what you're doing to next week. You do not want to be playing catch up from Monday morning. And a lot of time I hear the 7-7-7 challenge spoken about like a catch up plan, the way a lot of people speak about SP. See, that's something else in our group. We don't use SP as a catch up emergency measure unless somebody's been on holiday, got a deserved gain because they've chosen to eat off plan and have a good holiday. They might pull things in by limiting carbs. But there's nothing really badly dangerous about a moderate amount of carbs. So for me today, yeah, that's how I felt about this week. I was getting into dangerous territory last Saturday thinking about quick fixes, and it stayed with me all week, and the memory of what I used to do to myself has helped me not to do it this week, because I used to pay for it by being miserable. Stood in the group this morning knowing that when I got on the scales I'd get a fair reading, and I think I got a fair result. And I'm going to go forward again this week. I walked 31.2 miles this week, which is quite coincidental. Last week I walked 31.23, so it's probably about 150 steps difference. Totally coincidental, but nicely balanced, and had a good week of food. I've had a good week of life. It has its usual stresses, but that's life. And if we didn't have stress, we wouldn't have motivation. That's how I feel about stress today. It motivates me to act differently. So if I've got stress in my life that is saying eat food, the motivation says, oh no, you're not. And I just move forward. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm never going to get it wrong, because there will be a time when I do get it wrong. I'm only human. But I won't set myself up to fail today. If I fail naturally, that's fine, but I won't set myself up to do it. So I'm grateful if you've sat and watched this, if you've listened to what I've had to say. If you've got anything to add or anything you want to disagree with, any experiences you want to share, please put them in the comment bar below. If you've done the 777 challenge and it's worked really well for you and you would encourage others to do it, share it with us, give us your results, because we're all about helping one another by being encouraging. So thanks for staying with me to the end of this video. Have a great week, and remember, it works if you work it, won't if you don't. Thanks. Bye.